thank you very much for joining me today. So as you see, the title of my presentation today is How to Trick People into Believing in Energy Management at Your Facilities. And really today, we're going to have a pretty open conversation about a lot of the experiences that I've had with different companies around the country, mostly up in New York, where I'm from, upstate New York. And a lot of the experiences that I've gained from both doing energy management myself and working with energy managers through many different types of facilities, both commercial, industrial, campuses, etc. So a real quick, brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. Hit the high points. We're going to start right from the beginning. Where do you start walking in the door? Employee engagement, establishing your goals and baselines, developing an energy management plan, and picking that right first project to present to the company that you've just started working for. And then the value of measurement verification and reinforcing why it's so important to do that. So where do we start? So you've just been hired as a new energy manager. Walking in the door for the first time. Ink hasn't even dried on your business cards yet. It's time to do a little soul searching. Why did that company hire you? Who was a part of hiring you? Why was that position created? There's a lot of different reasons why somebody might decide that they need an energy manager on their site. I've bulleted a few of them here. I'm sure you guys all have your own thoughts. Obviously, the number one, money. Money talks. We all want to save money for our companies, for our industries, for our customers. It all comes back to the dollar. But there's a lot of other reasons that somebody might have said, we need an energy manager. Is it carbon footprint reduction? Is it greenhouse gas reduction? Is it public perception? Maybe you want to put a green product label out the door. Is there changes in leadership? Somebody came in, say, hey, we don't have an energy manager, we need one. Is there different corporate philosophies? Maybe there's preparation going on for downsizing or future expansion. There's a lot of different reasons. And really understand why you were hired is important for aligning your goals with the company's goals. Understand the current state of energy management. Are you walking in fresh with no foundation? Has somebody been doing this job a little bit on the side? Is there some type of corporate ladder that has influenced why, back to that point, why are we hiring? Is there some type of corporate goals for energy management and sustainability? And one thing I like to tell people is take a step back, and if you have an org chart or know where you fit in that hierarchy, take a look at it. Where did they put you in that org chart? Did they put you under purchasing? Okay, they're gonna want me to look at utility bills all day long and try to get them the cheapest prices. Did they put you in the facilities group? Are you more of a technical person? Did they put you at right underneath the CFO or CEO up in the higher management position? That's going to give you a good idea of how they view your position and what the expectations are of you. Build alliances. So this is a theme that you're going to see throughout this entire presentation. And really that first bullet is probably the most important bullet in this entire presentation. Successful energy management is not a one-person job. It takes a team to get this done. You are not, if you walk in the door thinking that you're going to solve all the problems with energy, save millions of dollars, and do it all by yourself, you're lying to yourself. You really need to understand that you're going to need alliances, you're going to need support, and you're going to need a team of people around you to make this happen. So back to whose idea was it to establish that position? Was it the CEO's? Was it a board? That person, whoever it was, is undoubtedly going to be your biggest supporter. Why? Well, if you fail, they look like they failed. Nobody wants to see their ideas fail. They're going to give you all the support in the world to make them look good in their hiring of you. Seek out those with common interests. In many cases, there's going to be people in your organization who are just as passionate about energy as you are, but maybe they're not in the position to do anything about it. Chances are these are the people who are going to come knocking on your door the first couple days trying to share their ideas with you. They're going to share their passion with you. These people are going to be your alliances. They're going to be people who want to see you succeed, who want to help you in your role. So identify these people, and build a relationship with them. Figure out how things work. So this slide here, I really want to point out the fact that, understanding some procedural things early on and not waiting until it's time to use them is very important, because we're all guilty of it. If we don't have to do it, if it's not part of our daily thing, going through our daily activities, we're going to ignore it until the time that we actually have to go through the procedure. But then when we do, it's going to take that much longer because we're trying to figure it out as we do it. And believe me, it takes a lot longer to do it that way than to understand the procedure from the beginning. Excuse me, the beginning. So an example, procurement. How does the project review process go? Is there a standard CapEx request form or CapEx procedure? What information and details required in that procedure or in those forms? Who's responsible for reviewing the requests? How long does that process typically take? You need to understand that very importantly, because you need to know, hey, if I want to get this done quick, am I going to put it in and is it going to take 2 months for them to actually look at my request? Or is it going to go in and somebody's going to look at it in a week and we're going to be rolling? Are there monetary thresholds that look at the scrutiny of the project? Projects under 10,000, you need your manager's approval, that's it. Projects above, you need CFO, CEO. You understand what project you're putting in for and what type of scrutiny it's going to face going up the ladder. What are the requirements for simple payback and other financial metrics? We don't want to work on a project with a 5-year payback when we know the cutoff's 3. You're going to waste your time. It might be a great project, but unless it has other benefits that we can really point out, you're going to put a lot of effort into something that's going to sit on the shelf. Whose budget is the money coming from? Very important. And is the money even there? Has it been earmarked for something else? Same thing as with payback. We don't want to work on projects that we know can't get funded this year. Let's focus on something we know we can get through the door. So know that process early on. And that's just an example. There might be other processes. Environmental health and safety is a whole nother one. There might be forms and procedures you got to go through for EHS to make sure things get approved. So it's just an idea to think about those procedural things that you're going to have to go through before you actually get to the point of going through them. Because that way you can schedule better and you're more prepared when it's time, and it'll get your projects through faster. Employee engagement. Coming in as a new person in an energy management position, you're often going to get pushback from people. It's just the nature of it. People don't like change. It's just how people are. If we're doing things for 30 years the same way, it ain't broke, it ain't fix it, well, maybe it is broke, but we just don't realize it. So this is certainly that culture thing that we have to break into. And the unfortunate problem is that the people who are most resilient are usually your people who have been there for a long time, but they're also those are also the people who are the best resources. They have the most knowledge of the place, the facility, the operations, and it's really hard to win those people over, but also extremely important to win them over. Have that positive vibe going. You are there to help make improvements, not point out their mistakes. Spin things a little bit. Even though you might disagree with something that somebody's been doing for a long time, don't point it out and say that's wrong. You shouldn't do it that way. You need to do it this way. Approach them in a more positive manner. Say, hey, did you think about maybe running the sequence in this order instead? I've seen it done that way. Is there a reason we're doing it this way? Ask the questions. Don't just point out mistakes. There might be a very good reason why something's being done the way it is. Right to the next point. Don't point out the faults right off the bat. Focus on where people are already doing a good job. Win them over. Make sure you point out where, hey, I really like, how the sequence we're running these chillers. I think it's the most efficient way to run it. You're doing a great job there. Or, this boiler's 40 years old, but it runs like a top. You're doing an awesome job maintaining this thing. Try not to add work to others. You're there to help people. We keep going back. This does take a team. You are going to need support, but do your best where you can. If there's a task that you can complete on your own, go out there and do it on your own. Try not to push your work off onto others. We've all experienced this. Somebody, we have a boss, they delegate, and you ask yourself, well, what the heck do we need that person for? I'm doing all their work. Try not to be that person. You're there to support them. So if there's anything you can do on your own, get out there and do it. Show the people that you have, that work ethic to be a part of the team, and you're not going to be pushing your work off onto them. Lean on your supporters and support your critics. So back to use those alliances you've built. Have them help you out wherever you can. And then there's people who, you're going to have those critics, so try to identify ways that you can support them or meet their needs. If you have operators and they're constantly complaining about a certain piece of equipment, is there anything we can do to, bring it back to energy, of course, but anything we can do to improve on that? And just become part of the team. Do everything you can to be just a part of the, a part of the organization. Don't be an exile. Bribery is certainly not off limits. Everybody loves when you come in with a box of donuts. So, cross-functional energy teams. So teamwork, constant theme here. Engaging and leveraging the existing knowledge base, essential towards the success of an overall energy management plan. There is all this knowledge out there in your facility or on your campus, in your plant. You need to pool that together. And I'm not just talking about technical knowledge or process knowledge. I'm talking about purchasing folks, EHS, management, corporate level management. There's a lot of different views, and everybody has a different angle on how they're approaching energy at your site. Offering the insight from across the company. That's really what we're getting at here. We want to make sure we're taking everybody's views into account and tailoring everything so that you get buy-in from across your organization. Objectives that you often see in an energy management plan: improve energy awareness. Obviously, we want to make sure people are aware that we're going after energy at the site. Driving improvements and actions that lead to those savings. So those are the projects. We want to help develop projects, bring those people together to help develop the projects, the feasibility, and how to implement them. Operational improvements. Looking at feasibility and roadblocks and come up with solutions. You might have a great project in mind, and EHS is going to point out, no, we can't do that. It's a health safety concern. Okay, well, is there a way around it? I mean, can we come up with a solution? But having that group of people collectively thinking about it is going to point out those mistakes or potential roadblocks early on, and you start focusing on the solutions. Offers that additional platform to bring suggestions forward. All these folks are talking to other folks. It's that pyramid scheme. But we're trying to bring the information up. Somebody's going to realize that you have, that Bob in finance is on the energy team. Well, somebody's going to say, hey, Bob, I got a great idea. And he's going to tell it to Bob, and Bob's going to bring it to the energy team. Develop education and training. So, same thing. People are going to make suggestions for different trainings that they could use that can help them in their positions. Whether it be a technical training, an awareness training, how to use certain equipment, how to be a better operator. There's all different types of trainings out there, and the energy team can help develop those and bring them out to the organization. Discuss the successes, failures, lessons learned. Of course, we want to learn from our mistakes and not make them again. And then on the positive side, we want to recreate our successes. And then develop news releases. Let's tell everybody what's going on. We want to make somebody in charge of informing everybody that we're doing great things and get everybody on board. Listen. Listen, listen, listen. You're going to have a lot of suggestions coming in from different people in the organization, but if you're not responsive to that, then people are going to start ignoring you. They're going to start thinking, it's just another suggestion box that nobody cares about. You need to be responsive. Even if it's just an email, hey, I got your suggestion, I'm going to review it, take a look. Just that little response, just to let people know that you're acknowledging them and acknowledging their idea. And then certainly if there's not a mechanism in place to get those suggestions in the house, then let's put something in place. Let's set up an email box. This physical box in the break room, doesn't matter. Any way to give people the opportunity to get something to you, to get information to you, so that everyone's aware that you're open to suggestions. Baseline and goals. Let's see here. You good on time?
Yeah.
Okay. So baseline. Coming in fresh, you need to create a baseline. Maybe there's one already done, but I'll tell you what, even if there's, a lot of times you'll come in and it's, hey, we want to improve, 10% by, from 2015 to 2020. Well, you just hired me in 2017. Okay, what's the baseline in 2015? And also, it's just as important to know what's that baseline when I walked in the door. Because people are going to want to know at one point or another, how have you impacted this site? And they may not care right off the bat about that 2017 baseline, but you're going to want to track it from there. You're going to want to know your own progress and be able to report that back. So select the right baseline. That baseline has to be a metric that means something to your organization. If you're a commercial building, high rise, it's going to be something along the lines of energy per square foot, energy per occupied tenant space. If you're an industrial facility, manufacturer, it's probably going to come back to production. How many units are going out the door and how much energy would you use per unit? How much energy per scrap unit? There's going to be those different types of baselines that we want to improve upon. And then, of course, the most basic is utility meter readings. Looking at our utility bills and establishing that baseline, and then, of course, depending on where you live, you're probably going to want to adjust for climate. But even if you don't do that, even if you leave your weather bin data out of the equation, just having that annual, going back a couple of years to see that approximate annual energy use is a great place to start. But make sure that whatever you use, the calculation is easy and reliable, because you're going to want to recreate it. You're going to want to recreate it over and over again so you can track it. KPIs, key performance indicators. So this kind of takes that baseline and drives it down a little further. And it's important that we create these early on because it's that tracking mechanism. It helps us guide our decision-making process going forward and when we get to other steps further on in the process here. KPIs can be anything. A lot of times your company's going to have some type of financial KPI, but it might not tie back to energy, but maybe you could tie energy back to the financial. So a lot of things we want to look at is both from the macro and the micro level, from that energy per square foot down to that energy per CFM in your compressed air system. Identify those KPIs early, and we got to track them. We got to set up ways to track them. We got to make sure that's, again, reliable data or a reliable way to track those KPIs going forward so we can see our progress. And then what's great about those KPIs, looking at them this way, is they give us an idea of where our opportunities are. We can take those, look at our more energy-intensive systems, identify our target areas, compare to industry standards, compare one machine to the next machine next to each other, figure out where our opportunities lie, and really that's how we focus in our plan of attack going forward. And then, like I said, track performance, identify issues, irregularities. Going down the line, everything might look hunky-dory now, but 1 month you have a wacky KPI. What happened there? Was it a meter issue? Did something really happen? Did we have failure? There's a lot of information you could track about identifying where issues may come up and the irregularities in this data. So there's tons of talks and different people around at the show here this year with energy tracking. I really encourage you to talk to those people about getting those mechanisms in place to be able to create KPIs, track them properly, get reliable data back, because it's really going to help everybody out in the long run. Your goals. A lot of times, if you're coming in fresh, there might not even be a goal established yet. They might have no idea how much energy they want you to save, or they might have it defined very well. So it's important that we're going to align ourselves with the goals of the company. Now, if you're establishing your own goals or looking at the goals that have been established for yourself, there's a couple different approaches. You can go conservative, under-promise, overachieve. Seems like a good way to go. Why not? Aggressive, really challenge yourself to stretch for a hard goal to reach. Okay, that's you're great if you get close, or if you're really great if you get there, but you fall short, you look a little stupid maybe. But really, I think the best approach, in my opinion, is to pick somewhere in the middle. Identify what those two could be and put yourself someplace in the middle. There's pluses and minuses to going into your path, but give yourself something that's going to challenge you a little bit, but is not out in left field, because you don't want to walk into a position, create a goal for yourself, and then fall way short of it. Just an example of how you can align your energy goals with business goals. So EBITDA, who's not familiar with, I'm not a financial person. I had to look up EBITDA, that sounds right. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So EBITDA is a very common financial metric that almost every company uses. And aligning yourself with EBITDA goals is a very easy way to establish what your energy goals should be. So for example, if you can determine your total annual energy spend as a percentage of the total company expenses, and then apply that percentage to the EBITDA goal. Makes sense, pretty simple, right? So energy accounts for 25% of total annual energy, or total annual expenditures. EBITDA goal is to improve by $100,000 over the next year. And therefore, pretty simple math. Let's align our energy with our EBITDA goal. Let's say, okay, $25,000 of that 100 is going to come from energy. Very easy, simple metric to give yourself, even if you don't use that one, it gives you a ballpark of where you might want to be. Energy management plan. We could go on for days on how to put together an energy management plan, but I'm going to give you a really, really high-level snapshot. And I'm sure there's plenty of specialized courses out there on how to put together a good energy management plan. But the reason I've included it in this program is because it's so important to get it established early on, to give yourself a framework, give yourself a path forward going on into your role as an energy manager. So an energy management plan, EMP for short, just because it takes a lot to write it out all the time. So this is going to be the framework of your efforts on energy manager going forward. It's a living document. You don't have to do it once and live by it forever. It can change. It can be modified. It should be. If you knew everything that's going to happen walking in the door, you'd have a crystal ball. Things are going to change. You're going to adapt to it, and it should adapt with you. So for, common items to include an energy management plan: facility profile. What do I got? What are my major systems? How many square feet? How many employees? What are our operating hours? Just understand. Just put it in one place. It doesn't have to be ultra detailed. It's not a report that's going to the state or the governor, whoever. It's for you. It's for your company. Just outline what you got in front of you. Outline the challenge in front of you. Employee engagement plan. Try to establish an employee engagement plan. How you're going to those earlier things, building alliances, putting a team together. Put a plan together for that. Baseline. How are you going to build your baseline? What metrics? What KPIs? How are we going to assess it? Goals and targets. We just talked about how to create our goals. Our goal needs to be in black and white ink right there so everybody can see it. Big letters. What's our goal? What are we working towards? We don't know what we're working towards. How do we know where to even start? The processes. Understand that those project development and implementation processes. What is that? That procedure we're going to follow when we present a project to management. And then the M&V approach and reporting strategies, and we'll get into that a little more later. So, great way to get buy-in. Very simple way to get buy-in from management and from the executive level. And you need this executive buy-in to show everybody in the organization that we're serious about this. And a great way to do it is have them physically sign it. Take that energy management plan, let them review it. After they say, yeah, it looks great, then hand it right back to them and say, sign it. Show me that we mean it. Nicer than that because they're your boss. But get them to sign off. Get them to buy into this document. Get them to buy into this plan. And then pass it around. Send it out in an email blast to everybody with that signature on it. Say, hey, here's what we're doing. We all need to buy into this. I threw this in just because it's such I think it's a great methodology, and I'm sure many people have seen this procedure before, the Plan, Do, Check, Act procedure. And this is really, when you're putting together an energy management plan, it's a really great foundation and framework for you to base your plan on. And obviously, the plan itself is a part of that planning stage. So we're not going to dive into this, but I do want to point out that spend some time, check this out if you're not familiar with it. It's a very common procedure for a lot of different things, not just energy management, but for a lot of different procedural and improvement strategies. So it really ties in well, though, with putting together an energy management plan and hitting all these areas in your plan. All these boxes should be outlined how you're going to do them in your plan. Picking the right first project. How much time we got? 2 minutes? Okay. So I'll fly through this real quick. So picking that right first project, because why? It's going to be your lasting legacy. You got to set that tone for having, getting everybody on board. You don't want to pick a project that's going to take 2 years to implement. Well, you're here 2 years and nothing's happened yet, right? It might be the greatest project in the world, but you need to pick a project that you can get through the process quick, get it implemented. You show people that I mean business. I'm here to make changes. But you also want to make sure you're picking something that's proven, has proven technology. The worst thing that can happen is picking a project that fails. You don't want to put a salty taste in everybody's mouth. So, a few other points here, but I'm going to jump because we're a little on time. M&V, got to have M&V. Very important. Why? Is our project repeatable? Did it act the way we wanted it to? We got to show people that when that especially for that first project, that it actually had the results we intended. Or if it didn't, why not? Was it the analysis? Is there a problem with the installation? So it's extremely important to have that measurement verification step and be able to go through that and outline how you're going to do that in your M&V, in your energy management plans, and make sure that you're taking the time to do that step. So with that, I am going to finish up. Oh, yep, more M&V. Share the results. That's important too. Make sure everybody knows what the actual results were of your M&V plan. So with that, I'll wrap up, and certainly if you want to talk.